Counting the.
Cost of donating your kidney.
Oh, Salim, why did you donate your kidney?
Well, this was actually something that I had not planned. I originally came back to America from Asia because my mom had cancer, and I didn't want that to progress in a way that I would just be coming at the last moment, and because of the way that the cancer had spread on her body, even to the bone, it looked to be terminal. So I wanted to be here for some quality time, and so my brother facilitated that. Now, earlier, before all that had happened, right in the middle of the pandemic, I had reconnected with someone that became one of my best friends in graduate school. He became a friend of the family, and he even participated at our wedding before we were called to be missionaries in Asia, specifically where I met you in Northern Asia, in Seoul, and in Samyuk University. And he told me about his condition and if I would be willing to donate my kidney to him. But because at that time we were on lockdown and everybody else seemed to be on lockdown around the world except a couple countries, logistically that didn't seem to be something that could happen. So when I was here, and he knew that I was already in America, he asked me if I could consider it again. And I was thinking, well, what's going to happen now? He did tell me that his mother was in need of one as well as he, as he had, as he was in need, and it was for the same condition. And so I decided to explore that possibility because not everybody can be a donor. Yeah.
Wow. So, how did you choose which one to give your kidney for?
Well, you have different options. I learned this as I went along in the process, at least in how things are done in America. In America, you do not get money in exchange for doing this because it is going to create a lot of unethical possibilities. So you do this out of the goodness of your heart. Now, there are some organizations that are nonprofit that will help you to sustain some type of income during the time that you're recuperating if you go through with it, if you go through the operation and all that. So, as I found out, you can be a donor for someone that you do not know. Now, there will be people that do not know that they got a kidney from you. So those are the most altruistic donations. You could say altruism is defined as doing something for others without expecting anything in returns. And we come from cultures where that is extremely rare, is if not virtually existent, inexistent, because we're such a gift-giving culture that it's very hard to actually do something without expecting that somebody's going to be reacting to give back to you, right? But in my case, I knew the person because it was the mother of one of my best friends, and so people will say, "Oh, you're a hero. You're such a good person." And I tell them, I'm sure that if you had the opportunity, you would be doing the same thing. Most people, they agree. Others, they kind of look at me and they change the subject or they say, "I'm not sure about that." But this is something that we are created with the ability to give because someone gave something to you so that you can live.
Oh, that sounds great. Is that a dog?
This is a cat.
I was like, is that are they ears or something? Because I saw something moving. I was like, what happened? What
Yeah,
is that?
it's a cat that belongs to my smallest niece,
Oh, okay.
and this cat is very very strange. He likes to sleep inside the tree, but he likes to come into the house to warm up.
Wow. I guess cat can be pretty friendly also.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you mentioned that dogs are more friendly just because of the way that they have a more frontal lobe. And I'm making a point with this since you mentioned it. And frontal lobe is where you have empathy and all these different things. Well, a cat has a smaller amount of that, And that's why you sometimes see a cat playing with like their food and with the dead mice or whatever, and they don't seem to have this conscience of, I'm doing something bad. But a dog seems to be more social adapted. That's because it has a more frontal lobe. So over one third of our brains are made up of that frontal lobe of our brain. It's called more scientifically the prefrontal cortex, and that is a part of the brain where God chooses to communicate with you, where you have your seat of good and wrong, and where you have your moral compass, so to speak. So, depending on what you want to emphasize in your lifestyle, you would then want to enhance activities and thinking and even foods that will put more blood flow into that part of the brain, which is right here, so that you can be able to more easily discern right from wrong, and that will
Wow.
help you decide on things like what I did as well. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. So talking about empathy, so how did you develop your relationship with your friend that you donated your
Yeah,
kidney to?
you think, I say that they have a genetic condition because sometimes when you're donating an organ, you're thinking that, this organ is going to go to waste because this person did something wrong in their life and that is what they're needing something, where you are right now in Korea. This is one of the most alcoholized countries in the world. And that is something that we have in common as well because I'm from Puerto Rico. I grew up there, I was born there, and it was like one of the top 10 alcoholized countries in the world, the one that has the central offices for Bacardi and all this other stuff. And then when you think about what people end up doing, would they have to have a new liver and even a kidney because of abusing drugs or other things? Those are the two organs of the body that you can donate as a living person and still live, even though you donated that. The liver is the liver organ is so adaptable that you can actually destroy 90% of it and you can still regenerate it, and so you can then donate a portion of your liver to another person so that that liver can grow in the other person, and then you can be able to then grow back your liver as well. And so, in that sense, the organ is very adaptable when it comes to that. When it comes to the kidney, uh, that is why people say that God gave us two. Now, they do measure your efficiency in terms of the function of your kidney, and they tell it in a percentages. So anything above 60% or more of the kidney function, then they allow you to donate. In my case, I was especially well suited for donation because my liver was over 100. It tested at up to 108%. Now the very max is 120 from what I was told when I asked, and so you only lose 15% of that capacity forever after you donate one of your two kidneys. And what they do is they usually take the left kidney out of you, and they leave the other one because it's usually bigger and or it has more function than the other one. And then that one that you are left with grows up to 30% more to compensate somehow for the one that you don't have anymore. But you really do not lose that much function. You can, after a while, go back to your normal activities. Even if you're a high level athlete, you can continue to do those same type of activities. We have even an NFL, like a National Football League, American football star that donated a kidney and he's still playing.
Wow, I didn't know that. So your capacity was 108, and then you lose only 15% capacity, and then after
Yeah, after 6 months. Now, for
six
now,
months, okay.
we have to allow for that other kidney to grow a little bit more. So right now, my function is below 70, but it is above the minimum that is expected. But it will just grow a little bit more. The function will become a little bit more efficient. The body's just learning because it's the first time that it goes through this. It's kind of like when a woman gets pregnant for the first time. The body doesn't know what is going on. It's the first time that they go through this, and that's what they feel like there's something they need to get out from the body, and they make you feel like you're gonna throw up and all these other things, morning sickness and all that. So I'm not experiencing any of that. It's just that these are things that deal with more of the parasympathetic system, the soft muscle tissue, the ones that carry on the processes in the body without you having to think about it. So after the surgery, instead of feeling pain, you only need feel like some type of discomfort, because the body is adjusting to that, and there's an empty space and things like that. So the body just rearranges itself, but it's really not that bad. It sounds worse than what it actually is.
Wow, that's amazing. So even after the transplant, things will come back to normal 6 months later, and then 85%, it comes down to 85, and then you gain 30% more, so you fully recuperate after about 6 months, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, after the procedure, they give you 2 weeks for you to just be at rest, and they discharge you after 1 or 2 days after the procedure. Then you can go to a place where you can have someone, and they will just watch, just in case, for anything that may happen in terms of the protocol regarding the anesthesia that they have given you, and the medications that you're taking for potential pain and things like that. So in my case, I stayed for about 2 weeks in a place that was near the hospital, that was provided for that same reason. And my friend was the one that was able to, in his case, fly from where he was studying medicine in Chicago and stay with me as that care person. And then after 2 weeks, they expect you to, if you have a sedentary job, then you can continue to do that type of job. If it's more physical, they want you to wait for at least 1 month before they can clear you to take in more weight. Because and I'm going to show you here. um, this is, um, at least where I was. This is the Jewish hospital in New York, which has just been given the title of number one hospital in New York. Just so happens this is Mount Sinai Hospital. So this is the pamphlet that is given to the person that is receiving the organ, in this case the kidney. But it's the same department that deals with the other living donation, which is liver. And then this is the one given to me, and I'm just going to open it up in a page that will give you a little bit of an idea of what um, you are expected to see. Now, this is a diagram of what they do. So, the organ that they usually take is the left side, and so you are seeing this in mirror format because we are in the internet, and so the internet flips it. And so they have one thing that they introduce in a small hole that is a video camera. Another one is a scissor, and another one is just a type of like a tube that will put in gas, carbon dioxide, which is readily acceptable in the body, and there's no side effects to that because we breathe out the carbon dioxide. And so what they do is they inflate the area so that in between the layers of tissue they can have space to see and also to manipulate the organ. Then they take it from there, they take it down to the place where, if you're a woman and you cannot give birth naturally, they do a C-section. So they kind of do like a C-section, and then they take out the organ out that way. But the C-section in this case is smaller because the organ is not as big as a baby. And they take it out, and then they put it in the other person, kind of like in front of the abdomen. And in their case, they don't take out their bad kidneys. If there's no cancer, if there's nothing that will harm the patient, they will leave their two kidneys, and then that third one, and then all together that will actually be better in the long run. I didn't know that until I was coming through. I came into this procedure and I started asking questions. Before it was worse. Before, because I know that people from our countries, they're thinking, but that is so extreme, because before they had to cut into the tissue through like the bone and the muscle, and then that is what would enable you not to be able to have an active lifestyle as before if you had one and things like that. But now it's a different procedure. What I explained to you in that manual, that is called a laparoscopic procedure. Laparoscopic is that they use gas to inflate the area and then they minimize the damage to the tissue so that then you can recuperate in as little as 2 weeks.
So previously, back in the days, they used to uh, cut across the muscle tissues and everything. Now they inflate the area with carbon dioxide and then they maneuver through. And then where does the kidney go through exactly and come out?
Well, Well, the carbon dioxide is because it is a gas that is neutral, and we actually use it in our body, so it has no side effects. So the liver, after the liver is cut on the urethra and then on the artery and on the vein, then they manipulate it down from the side of the body into the frontal part of your body, and then right around your the middle of your pelvis, above your gonads, that is where they make an incision and then they take it out. So they make a suture, but it is not like before where you had to suture with how do you call that, with like a type of like a fish net and all these different things. But what they do is they have a type of surgical glue. So they use that in the inside of the incision, and then on the outside of the layers of tissue, they put a layer of tape, and then that allows the body time to come together again and to have the body heal. After a month and a half, you would be able to carry, I guess 80 pounds or more. I don't know how to say that in kilograms. I will say that maybe about 120 kilograms or something like that. No, I'm sorry. You have to divide that. I'm sorry. So 8 pounds.
120.
It's 2.2 pounds for 1 kilogram. So I guess it will be like 50. Let's say if, like 50 to 55 kilograms or something like that. Before the 1 month after the procedure, they don't want you to leave anywhere from, let me see how much is, like 2 kilograms to 12 or 13 kilograms or something like that, because you don't want to exert pressure in the muscles that have been cut in the front, and so that you would minimize the chance of having a hernia. A hernia is when any of your internal organs in the front of you, in your abdomen, like in your intestine, will actually go through the wall, and then it will be pinched when the body is trying to heal itself. But that is the only thing that you would really have to watch out for. If you want to heal faster, like what I did, I went on a plant-based diet, and so that actually helps to give the body the energy that it needs so that it can heal not only faster but also in a more proper way.
Wow. So how did it feel during the procedure? Did it hurt?
Well, they give you general anesthesia. You are really do not know, what they did. It is almost like what the Bible talks about when it says
Uh-huh.
about death, which is like a type of sleep. You don't know when you go to sleep, and then all of a sudden you come to your senses again, and it's like no time has passed at all. I think that is like what death is, and because you don't have any type of dream at all. Your body is completely uh, deep sleep. You're not, because they want to minimize the activity so that your body will not process what is going on. They even give you what they call a nerve block. So when they dealt with the left part of my body, they injected something that is a type of anesthesia, but for the main nerve system in that part of the body, so that for the next 2 3 days, then we would not feel as much pain from the procedure itself. And I did not feel pain. It was only when I was trying to move in an inordinate way or to the side, or even if I was trying to sleep on the side, because I like to sleep on the side, that I will feel the more discomfort than usual. But as long as you are able to sleep, like flat and then facing up, it's really no problem at all.
So how long were the procedure?
The procedure is usually 2 hours for, in this case, us, the donor. The recipient may be up to 4 hours. Now, in my case, they had to spend a little bit more time because around the kidney, in order to be protected as much as possible, God has enabled fat to accumulate, but this is healthy fat, not fat from being overweight. It is brown fat, we call it. Healthy fat is like brown fat. So they surround the kidney, and that way, if you're bumping or you have an accident or something, that you're not that prone to lacerate or to break the kidney. And it is a protective mechanism created by God for us to be protective of that. Now, the doctor found out that in my case, I had more of that fat around the kidney, so he had to work more. He said that in 10 years, he had not had to work in a case that had as much fat around the kidney. Uh, the men tend to have more fat around the kidney than the woman. Now, the woman, and I'm telling you this because I'm a preventive care public health doctor, so we have to take some medical school classes for physiology and anatomy. The woman is born with 30% more lipid mass. Lipid is fat mass than men, because women, they enjoy the act of procreation. They have the privilege to procreate, and they need more lipid systems because all the hormones are made out of lipids, even the hormones that we make as men. But because they are in a different type of envelope, so to speak, because the way that they were created, they're a little bit physiologically different. They don't have as much covering of the kidney, the fat covering of the kidney as men do. It seems that because men were created with 30% more muscle mass, then it is to us to be given the command to be more physical about working and about doing other more actively physical things, and it shows in the amount of testosterone that we make, and that we are more prone to be the go-getters and things like that. And this is talking optimally. And so that is a way for the body to protect itself, and this is part of epigenetics as well. So in woman has less fat around the kidney, but men had more fat around the kidney because we tend to be more physical, and so that way the kidney is protected more in men and not
Wow.
so much in women.
So, from the day one when you got the surgery up to now, how have you felt?
Well, I started to walk very slowly after the procedure. I would have to do like a little shuffle. I would, I usually walk very fast. This time I had to work. I have to walk at no more than 30% of my usual speed, and so every time I will take a step, I will have to maybe take it no more than half the usual distance, because every time you step on the floor, then you're sending it's kind of like a shock wave through your leg, and so that actually gets into the area where it has been cut, and then the body feels it more. It is more sensitive, so I had to be more careful into that, and that's what you usually try to walk slower. And after 1 week or so, I was able to walk faster. After 2 weeks, I was back to like 80% of my speed. And then after 1 month, I've been able to walk almost normal in terms of speed. Not so much pain again. It's not so much about pain, but about discomfort, or being mindful, like thinking before you act, to make sure that you do not overextend, and then like you try to reach something behind you, and then there is a problem where the skin that is trying to close is going to tear away and then create the potential for a hernia. So it's just being mindful of that to limit the possibility of that happening.
Wow.
Somebody's hungry.
Yeah, my daughter is crawling around. So,
Uh,
so what did the doctor tell you before the procedure and after?
well, the doctor, in no uncertain terms, he looked me and he say, "Do not carry on weight." And I told him, the nurse, like there's a nurse that is a director of the team of like the donor side, and she said, for you to carry 20 pounds, it's okay. When I told her, the doctor say, no, the doctor is kind of funny because he has an accent since he's from Greece. And so he said, no more than 5 pounds. Believe me, look me in the eye. He was very serious because he wanted to minimize the potential that he had to go back inside and then redo it and all. I understand where he's coming from. And at least here in America, the hospitals, they have grades as to the success and then the long-term effect and all these different things. So I understand where they were coming from because I worked in hospitals too here. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. So how did the uh, strange kidney fit into the new body?
Yes, thank you for asking that. The kid, well, they first look at whether you have the same blood type. Now it used to be 10, 20 years ago. The most important test was what they call the matching test. So yes, the blood type had to be there, but then they wanted to make sure that there were six different types of tissue matching between the donor and the recipient, where they did testing to see how compatible they will be to eliminate the potential of rejection. And so there's six different types things that they look at in that tissue matching analysis, which is over $5,000 worth at least here. And if you are matching one out of six, they will not allow you to donate. If you are two out of six, they eventually found out, showed through research, that two matching out of six, up to six matching out of six, there's no statistical significance to the potential of rejection, so that it is okay whether you are matching two out of six, which is what happened to me, or whether if you're like an identical twin and six aspects of that matching matches six times, so it's like a perfect match, so to speak. And there has been families, blood families, like let's say son or daughter or brother sister or whatever is that they have not been able to donate to each other because there's only one out of six. So it can happen. I mean, it's not as common between families to not be as potentially matching, as compatible, but God enabled me to be able to donate. And I am a Caucasian person, and the person that got my organ was a black Caribbean lady from Jamaica. Now, granted, she has similarities to me in terms of having some genetic lineage from Europe, from Germany, and that is exactly what enabled them to have this genetic disorder in their family that especially runs in women, and it is called PKD. P as in person, K as in kilo, D as in dog, and it stands for polycystic kidney disorder. Poly means many, and that is like from the Greek word, and then cystic means balls or spheres, shapes, round shapes, and that means many sphere disease of the kidney that looks like many spheres. So it essentially is like turning the kidney into looking like a bunch of grapes. When you buy a grape and then you see all the little grapes together, it's kind of like what it turns into. So what happens is that the kidney tissue distends, and so it has less surface area, meaning that it cannot be as efficient about doing its filtering work for the blood that goes inside and then to produce the urine. So when I donated, the recipient, my recipient had only 5% function left in the kidney. She was in a state of danger whereby they would be calling her almost every week and asking, "Are you sure you don't want to start dialysis?" But she was praying that she would not go on dialysis. And so we do have a mutual friend, Jewa, that was one of our doctoral students in our program at Sambiuk in public health. And she's now facing the same issue where not with PKD, not with polycystic kidney disease, but with overexertion that led to her having now a condition of kidney insufficiency. And she was one of our best students. Um, I mean, this is a podcast, so I'm want to protect her privacy because I haven't asked her permission to talk about this. I'm sure she wouldn't mind, but just in case. And she is now she was able to be admitted to America, and she's in New Mexico, so she is now part of like the donation list. Now, there are some places in the world that is easier to get a donation for any organ, for living or non-living tissue or organ donation, and that is places like Spain. So in Spain, if you're born in Spain, if you're a citizen of Spain, you automatically are a potential donor. In America, they thought that that could open up unethical possibilities whereby people may take advantage of that and do some things medically that were not in your best interest. So that is why in America it's very hard to find people to donate because you need to, out of your own conscience, say, I want to be a donor or consider a potential donor. And the most common way to do that in America is like when you are applying for a driver's license, then you put that in the application. And then in the driver's license, they have like a pink dot so that they would know, like if something happens to you in a car accident or whatever, they will look into you and they will say, okay, this person is into that. So yeah, and even before I did this, I was a regular blood donor. I even donated regularly blood in Korea, wherever I went, Australia, of course, America, and all these different places. So Philippines as well. So it helps you to be more altruistic. It helps you to understand that there is this verse in the Bible that says, "Freely you have received, then freely give," and it keeps you more human as well to consider things like this. Because let's face it, we have a proverb in Spanish that says, "Hoy por mí, mañana por ti." So it's kind of like saying, "Today for me, tomorrow for you." You never know what tomorrow's going to bring for you, and this is a way to keep you honest about being a human really means, and it is to reflect that we are made in the image of God.
Wow. So, how strong your relationship with your friend that led you to this donation of kidney?
Well, it was because of one of my best friends that I was able to do this for his mom. Otherwise, I would have not known that it was needed. And so he, even though he was dealing with his own condition, because he is still undergoing, the long-term effect of having to deal with the organ that he has been donated to, the kidney, to not be rejected, and now coming with that condition to try to take care of me, but of course doing it because I was doing that for his mom, and then to be able to have the mom nearby during the procedure at the same time. So it worked out pretty well. It came together. We were not sure if that was going to happen, but the Lord allowed it to happen. And so it was a good experience. Now, because of there is like 8 or 10 different types of anti-rejection medications that are given to the recipient that gets the organ, that's the recipient, that have some side effects on the body. And in the case of the mother of my friend, the one that got my kidney, it was pernicious high blood pressure, pernicious hypertension. Pernicious mean constant, that you cannot take it out, not even with other types of medication. And so they could not seem to know how to manage that very well. And it took about 3 days for them to figure out how to actually lower it a little bit. But she still had to take the medication. So they were trying to see how they could discharge her from the hospital. And they finally they did that. But it took like 3 extra days for that to happen from the usual time. So because of her age, she's 65 years old, and because of that condition, as well as the fact that during the first 6 months, because of the anti-rejection medication, that lowers the immune system, so that the immune system will not overreact for trying to attack something that is not part of their own body originally. Then she's in an immunocompromised state. That means that even me having my organ on her, that they were telling me not to even say goodbye to her, not even to go see how she was doing
Huh.
after she went out of the hospital. While she was in the hospital, I insisted to go and see her, and I'm glad I did, because afterwards, then I was not able to see her again. So yeah, I'm about to go back to the Philippines in a few days, and so I haven't seen her since that time.
Wow. So, how much does it cost for you and for your friend's family?
Well, many times the biggest cost is the financial hit and you not being able to work for a whole month or things like that. So there is an organization in America, among there may be other ones, but the one that is most well known is they call it NALDAC, but it is based on the way that you could pronounce the acronym, which is NLDAC, the National Living Donor Association of something on C community maybe. And what they do is they receive funding as a nonprofit agency from the federal government, so that they will have funds available for people that do not have as high of an income, so that their employment will not be a hindrance for them to donate, and so that they will be able to give them back their living expenses for up to 1 month, living expenses for recuperating after the procedure, and for where they will stay, where they what they would eat, how they will go back and forth between the meeting with their team after the donation, and with their surgeon and with their doctor and things like that, and also to give the equivalent of at least an average of what you make in a month on average, but all of that up to 6,000 US dollars. Sometimes it's not enough because people may get more, or all things considered, depending on where you're recuperating. Like New York was very expensive, but it is something that is like a help. There's countries like, where I have the family in the Philippines that do not have that type of infrastructure, and so what people do is they just offer their kidney, and then there are people that need the kidney, they just ask, and then they would just pay something to the other person. But in that case, many times the procedure is done the old way, where you have to go through the back, and when you go through the back, yes, you're minimizing the risk of um, upsetting other internal organs, but then you have to cut through your rib cage and your muscle and things like that. Yeah, so that's kind of like a trade-off right there. You may
Oh,
be getting let's say like 10,000 US dollars in compensation for giving your organ, but then you have to live with the consequences of having cut through the old way, and then not being able to be as active and things like that.
wow.
Yeah, but right now in most of the world, the laparoscopic surgery is now the standard for donation, not just for what I did in kidney, but also for liver transplant. And we even, I mean, when I was in Mount Sinai, I even got to hear that there's people from even from Yemen coming here. Yemen is a Muslim country on the horn of the peninsula, north of or northeast of Africa, And even though it's a country that is not as rich, the people find a way to be able to either be available for donation or to then go to places like that hospital in Mount Sinai, Jewish hospital, to then receive the donation.
Wow. I have a last question for you. So, what do we need to do to keep the kidneys well functioning and healthy?
Well, one of the things, and this is the most important thing, whenever they tell you to take medication like pain medication, like it doesn't have to be for what I did or for any other donation, but for anything that you may have, like a headache, or if you have a muscle pain or whatever it is, the pain medication that you are not to take is something that is called NSIDS. NSIDS. And that, N as in Nancy, D as in dog, S, NSIDS. So that is an acronym that deals with medication, pain medication, that filter their metabolism through the kidney. Because you only have one kidney left, you want to avoid the potential for your only kidney left to be damaged metabolically. And they tell you that for the rest of your life, you're not to take that type of medication. And now I know why. Growing up, and even in the healthcare world, I was thinking, why is the main pain drug medication available in all the hospitals in the world? It seems was Tylenol. Why Tylenol? Tylenol only. I don't know if that is the same name, commercial name in Korea, for the one that is not NSAIDs. But Tylenol is the a pain medication that is metabolized through the liver. Now, of course, if you were to be a liver donor, then they will tell you to not take Tylenol and to take the NSAIDs. In my case, it was the opposite. And so, whatever you see on the label that says NSIDS, do not take it, because that will be metabolized by the kidney. And then to drink, to make sure that you are religious about drinking 2 gallons, 2 gallons, let me see. Yeah, around 1 gallon.
$2.
See, yeah, the minimum 2 liters, but you may want to think about 1 to 2 gallons a day, and you can do that. I mean, that will be 2 liters will be like what, like eight cups of water a day. And you would want to hydrate for your own needs, especially now that you have one kidney. You would want to help the body as much as possible. It's not that you're going to go overboard and then overhydrate in such a way that then you will dilute the sodium and the potassium that you need. But many people, most of us, will underhydrate and will actually make the body dehydrated. So that is not going to be as big of a concern. But if you have the means, and or if you live in a part of the world where it is easier for you, then I would suggest that you would drink pure coconut water. Nothing added, not even sugar, not even when they say 1% or less, nothing added, pure coconut water. Because coconut water has the exact same consistency as your blood plasma. In fact, it is so equal that during the Second World War, when there was a shortage of everything, including intravenous fluid in the hospitals, they used filtered coconut water as intravenous fluid that they will put directly inside your veins to rehydrate you if you were in a health condition that you needed to be in the hospital. So that is how powerful that is to drink pure coconut. What is like giving your body a blood transfusion of sorts, but plasma is about half of your blood, right? So if you want to think about replenishing your cells in your body, the red part of your blood, then you would want to emphasize dark green leafy vegetables like alfalfa or wheatgrass and things like that, that will then allow that green part of the leaves, that is chlorophyll. And so the body takes it, it is not digested, but is taken into the blood from the intestines as it is going through the wall, and then it goes into a place either on the intestines and or into the inside the bone, the bone marrow. And then they take away what makes it green, which is the ion of magnesium. They put the magnesium in the bone to make it stronger, and then they put, instead of the magnesium, an ion of iron. And iron is what makes our blood red. And so it transformed the chlorophyll into a red blood cells, because chlorophyll is the red blood cells, if you want to say it that way, of the plants. And so they need to have the magnesium, because they're going to be absorbing carbon dioxide for their food. So they are giving out, the plants are giving out oxygen, and that is a symbiosis between the plants around the world and us. So we breathe in what they give out, the plants, and vice versa. And so that you can have a natural blood transfusion that way. You're drinking your green juice with, but instead of putting water, you do coconut water. That is like a complete blood transfusion right there.
Wow, thank you, Salim. It was very
Yeah,
informative and very fascinating. It was very engaging, and I just wanted to know what it was like to donate your kidney to somebody, and it was very
yeah,
interesting to hear the whole process. Thank you very
yeah.
much, and I hope you arrive back to the Philippines safely.
Yes, there's always going to be a need, so I encourage every one of you to consider donating. And the way you can do it is you just put your name and your information in the donation registry in your own country. So I
Mm.
highly suggest that. And you don't have to be obligated to donate if you do that. It's just for you to have to make it easier for people to contact you in case you want to consider that, if in fact you are a match in one of these procedures. So thank you again for contemplating that, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Salim.
All right.
Have a good night. Say hi to the cat.
Hasta la vista. Meow.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Take care.